the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. This is your host, Maheen. We have a very fascinating episode lined up for you today, where we are honored to be joined by an exceptional guest, someone who's making moves in the accounting world and beyond, Mr. Ted Williamson. With a career spanning over 15 years across varied industries, from contracting to professional services and technology, Ted has invaluable wealth of experience under the belt. As the current president of Accounting 2.0 for the past 6 years, he has played a pivotal role in navigating the company through market shifts, aiding hundreds of business owners in compliance, and instilling improved accounting best practices. What truly sets Ted apart is his vision and relentless dedication to the future of the business and accounting industry. His innovative venture, Accountants 2.0, is a testament to this, as it seeks to redefine the client-firm relationship in alignment with the evolving needs of today's business owners. Ted's unique philosophy, grounded in the tenets of communication, cooperation, and transparency, forms the cornerstones of his own approach to business, shaping not just his ventures but the industry as a whole. So get ready for an insightful conversation about the ever-evolving landscape of accounting, how businesses can ride the wave of change, and much more. Let's dive in. Hi Ted, welcome to the Canadian SME Podcast. How are you today?
Good. Thank you, Maheen, for having me.
Very pleased to have you with us this afternoon. So Ted, you've accumulated a wealth of experience in the business realm, crossing boundaries from contracting to professional services and tech. And this very journey must have given you unique perspective on entrepreneurship and business management. Can you share with our audience today, the key learnings you've gathered and how they've helped shape your expertise?
Well, it's a very long journey that I've really been on, and a lot of learning that's gone on. So I can kind of go into my history. So like as a teenager, I went into the military. I did that. I always had like this like hero complex. I always wanted to help people. And so I went there thinking I was going to help a lot of people, and I found that it wasn't exactly for me. So when I did end up exiting the military, I tried to find myself after that, and I was working different jobs. I ended up getting this part-time job at a lawn sprinkler place, and it was really cool. It was a really good job, and Bob was my mentor. He actually mentored me. He saw, potential in me that I could do more than just be a grunt, and said, you should do this for yourself. Like you should do your own business. And I was like, cool. So I worked with him and started my own thing, and he mentored me in there. So I actually started a landscape construction company. He helped me with getting into that. And I did that for about 5 years. And one of the key learnings from that is in the fifth year, I actually brought on a partner, and partnerships don't always work. So you have to, it can be a really bad situation if you don't get the right people in place. So I actually, licked my wounds and moved on to, marketing for other companies, managing other companies. And I started another contracting business, actually doing like windows and doors, heating and cooling. This is where I actually started to go into my original thing. I wanted to help people. Right. So I found like there was a lot of energy grants, and there's a lot of predatory companies out there that were just like going after companies or going after small homeowners and getting them to just invest their life savings into stuff with the promise that they're going to get a bunch of money back. They do get the money back, but then they ended up spending so much more. Right. There was a bunch of people that were on fixed income, retirement income, things like that, didn't have access to credit or have the cash available, and they were the ones with the highest energy costs. Mm-hmm. So we actually targeted them to work with them. We shouldered the cost while they waited for their money, and we as much as we could made it as free as possible, and without them being burdened with having to figure out how to pay for it. So that was one of the really good things. That one was meant to be temporary. Mm-hmm. And when the grants went down, we actually pulled out of that and we moved on. So during after that, I managed a couple more companies, did some marketing, and then I decided that I really loved marketing, not accounting necessarily. So I went back to school. I grew up kind of poor, so I didn't have as easy of a time going to school in the first place, hence the military. So I went to school. I went to college. I ended up getting a whole bunch of awards. I got every award that this college really gave you, and won competitions and stuff. And I really loved it. After that, I actually started the tech business that was that I always thought I always wanted to do, which was automating the transaction process. This is a couple years ago, before it was really being done, between business owners, and getting it directly into your books. And so this is where I really started to kind of tie accounting into my world. So I started that. I started to move it along, and then we just didn't end up launching that. Which now looking back, I wish I would have. The way the industry is going right now, we would have been so far ahead. Anyway, so after that, I actually went back to school. I went knowing that how much I started to enjoy the business world in general and accounting. So I went back to school. To university to get my degree, and took some auditing classes and tax classes, and I really I enjoyed it. I knew that the accounting for business is where the magic happens in business. Right. Marketing grows, but accounting is what allows for marketing to grow. You know what I mean? Right. So you have to get all the numbers. You have to understand it, and you need the trust from the business owner to work with. Mm-hmm. Accountants are like accountants, lawyers are confidants. They're advisors. They know your some of your innermost deepest secrets, yes. Right? So I was like, in order to help these businesses, I really have to not just try to grow them. I need to understand them more and work with them on a deeper level. Right. And so that's why I found a CPA. He mentored me into it. I started into the CPA program, moved along. He actually retired, and then I launched my own thing before my CPA was done, and it started growing pretty fast. So I actually stopped doing my CPA, and I was like, okay, what's more important here, me having a designation or me helping these small businesses? And I thought, helping these small businesses, because I can find somebody with a CPA, and they can do it, because I'm a good, I'm good at strategic advisory. I can help businesses. I've been there, right? So, but yeah, so that's, I guess I went into a story. I don't know if I answered your question.
You answered it beautifully.
Yeah?
It's great to learn the inspiration and motivation that led you to start something of your own. Now, Ted, for the past 6 years, you've led SRT Accounting and Accountants 2.0 as its president, guiding it through various market shifts. And during this time, the company has reached significant milestones, which you just touched base on a little bit. Can you delve into these achievements and explain how they've contributed to the broader growth and development of the organization?
So I don't like to think of milestones. So like a milestone I think of is like a point in time where something happens, where I think it's actually most of the time in business, there's a flow, of time. And there are significant things that happen. One of those things would be developing an actual platform, a cloud-based platform for people to use to get up-to-date information, and helping to shift the narrative into getting faster reaction time, into having better communication from your accountants, and having the flow between different areas of your business, e-commerce, things like that. So I feel like us developing that and putting the research in and the time and the investment in order to help businesses with that, I think is an achievement in its own. Another big thing that I'm really proud of is during COVID, another one of these moments where we're really trying to help. As everybody knows, people were really struggling, mentally, financially, and business owners shouldered a lot of it. Right. The small business owners, and a lot of times they had no idea where to look, how to look. I know that there was a lot of media and stuff like that, but for some reason, business owners still didn't understand that they had access to money, that they could do those things. So we actually had an outreach program that reached out to small business owners to help them get funding, to bring them, to help them get through. And oftentimes we were their therapists too, right? So that was another thing. And in preparation for this, I had one more thing, and I don't even remember what it was, but I'm sure it was really important.
Really?
But yeah.
Was it related to something about your accountants?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's probably
We will have that included in our written part.
Yeah. Well.
Yes?
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
Well. No. I think it goes into the next question. Actually, I think it was the next question.
Was it?
About the communication. And,
yes, that's coming up.
Go.
Okay.
Don't worry. It's good.
Now, Ted, you the philosophy that you have, communication, cooperation, transparency, these forms, the backbone of your approach to business and accounting. Mm-hmm. Now, we're keen to hear more about how these principles are not just theories, but can be practically applied in the day-to-day operations of a business. How have, they been instrumental in helping businesses improve their accounting best practices?
Okay, so we found that we've been there on both sides of the thing. So like me personally, and a lot of our team have owned businesses, been on that business side, and also we have accounting companies, so we've been on that side too, and the technology for accounting. So because we understand all three of those things, we're in a unique position to understand that communication is really the part that breaks when it comes to the relationship between the accountant and the relationship between the small business owner. So working on that communication is super important. That, it's still happening. But we still get flabbergasted when we hear people talk about reaching out to their accountant because they had to make a decision and it took 2 weeks, or they never heard from them at all. Oh my God. And so us, it's like we a lot of times we'll get back to you like in the chat, like within minutes, right? Mm-hmm. Or we don't say that, but our guarantee is 24 hours. Okay. But that helps because then they have a direct line when they can be at the bank and talk to us. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they can be like, hey, I'm at the bank. Can you get back to me? And we'll be like, okay, you know what? I'll jump in. Let's talk to your banker, or let's figure out what they need, or something like that, right? So we do something like that. So that's the way the world is going and the way it needs to go. Mm-hmm. But in order for that communication to work properly, you need cooperation. Mm-hmm. So not only from your accountant, because that's where the communication comes in. Your accountant most of the time wants to cooperate. Mm-hmm. For some of the bigger firms, maybe not so much because it's costly, right. but most of the time they want to see you succeed. But they need you as a small business owner to help them. So you need to help them. Right. When they ask for things, you need to help them get it. So if they need bank statements, for example, or generally, an application that you did that they need some help figuring out on your behalf. All of these things are important. It seems like when people go into business, they think that when they hire somebody like a marketer or an accountant, things just magically happen. Right. And they don't. So you need that cooperation in order for those magical things to happen. Yeah. Because otherwise, the communication will break down. You'll have an expectation because your communication has improved so well that the task also has to get done right away. But without the input or the assistance of the business owner, that just can't happen. The other thing is being in the accounting and an advisory industry, we know sensitive details about clients. We work with them. They need to understand that we're people, and that's where the transparency comes in. Okay. So they need to understand that we're people. We have lives. We make mistakes. We have successes as well. So that way they can feel comfortable with us. Mm-hmm. So that's why we believe in the transparency part too.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a good that ties around all these three areas, which are important for both the client and the accountant. Now, Ted, the accounting industry is like living. It's like a living entity, constantly evolving and adapting. And you've managed to not just keep pace, but stay ahead of the curve as well. Could you share with our listeners your strategy to adapt to emerging technologies and industry improvements, and how you ensure that business owners are always on the beneficial side of these changes?
So I'll say this, small businesses, you should definitely find a good accountant that understands technology and work with them, because they do the research for you in a lot of cases. So it is painful. It is painful. It's costly. Accounting is one of the, most like industries that are changing. Accounting and marketing are probably the industries that are changing the most with like AI and technology. And those greatly impact every business.
Right.
So it's important for us as advisors and people that are integrated into companies to understand those types of things. So the way that we do that is painfully researching things. So continuously looking at blogs, attending webinars, magazines, all kinds of different areas, right? Trade shows, going to trade shows, working with government bodies and organizations that govern, like CPA Canada, things like that. So we have to stay up to date, and not just the minimum hours that they require for you to get your credits to maintain your designation. You need to actually dig in and try things and break things. And so that's the painful part. So I have probably looked at over 300 different apps, and just to find like 10 really good ones that we use on a day-to-day basis. And it's cost a lot of time and a lot of money, and a lot of complaining from our staff because we keep throwing new things at them. But now, like, we understand them, and the ones that we don't personally use, we understand them for the clients that will use them. So, like, for example, we understand Xero very well. Xero's a partner, as you can see. Yes, we love Xero.
Yes, we love Xero too.
and WagePoint too for payroll. So, for example, small businesses can use like payroll in a platform, or they can use a separate payroll system. But like WagePoint, they're agnostic. They can go to anyone, and they specialize on small business. And so we love them. We use them, and in combination with Xero, and Xero is super friendly for small business. So these are some things. So another, like contracting businesses, they use certain types of technology. Right. Not just that, but how are they finding customers? Like, we have to understand not just the accounting, but the actual strategies that they use, and specialize in those strategies. And that's where the "we've been there" comes in, is that we care, maybe I want to say a little bit more than a lot of other service providers. I hope I don't get in trouble for that, but we look deeper than a lot of other people. And I think it's important. I think you need to, as a small business owner, you need to find somebody that cares, that is willing to look in a little bit deeper, and lean on them before you do the dive I did, right? Instead of doing all of that. But you need to stay up to date. You need to do those trade shows. Absolutely. Stay ahead of things. Work on, like AI is, super important. We were just having a conversation how it's going to be a big focus. And that's, growing in our industry too. So it's really important to stay ahead. Yeah, and understand where it's going, not just where it is.
Absolutely. So, no, very thorough research and personalized experiences. What we've touched base on that you provide to your clients. But I'm having a lot of fun with this very detailed conversation with you. But before we delve deeper into the world of accounting, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, let's resume our discussion on the significant changes and advancements in the accounting industry. Now, Ted, being in the accounting industry for years, you've witnessed firsthand these significant changes and advancements. And we'd love for you to kind of shed light on these evolutions and how they've influenced businesses, whether in terms of compliance, efficiency, or profitability.
So all these advancements and changes have definitely helped. There's so many. I wouldn't even talk like just technological changes, but like just the industry, like the accounting industry itself. Something I'm a little bit worried about actually is there's a big acquisition push right now with like large firms acquiring small firms, which sounds really nice, but I worry about the quality of that. So when you have a large firm buying up a whole bunch of small ones, you almost centralize the service. So that's a big thing that's happening right now. And at the same time, on the opposite side, there's actually a lot of people leaving those large firms to start small firms.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is also concerning because they have a harder time staying up on technology because they don't have the resources to research it and do all of that. So that's actually where we built Accounts 2.0 for, is so that we can give small firms the ability to attract and be specialists for their small businesses, and still have the resources of a large firm, so that they can benefit from aggregated training and stuff like that, and so they're up on compliance and technology for small businesses. Some other big shifts are with AI, which I touched on in the last one. I see that being very beneficial. It's already starting in the industry where it helps us with our categorization process, our review process, and standardization. So that's very big. Another thing that I see becoming a big benefit to small business owners is, especially when you're dealing with an accountant that maybe you really love, but they're not good on the communication part. Maybe you just need basic information like should I buy this truck in my personal name or my corporation? So they could like enter that into some sort of search function with AI and populate a suggestion or a bunch of information about it, instead of having to talk to their accountant. I'm not saying to not talk to your accountant, because ultimately you want to vet the information, and AI is great, but it's not guaranteed at all. I mean, neither is technically your accountant, but and AI can't replace the relationship either. Right. But in some circumstances, you might need a quick answer just to just to have an idea of something, and that comes in very, very handy.
All right, so as someone who's been able to, kind of predict and adapt to the industry shifts, your vision of the future of business, especially in the accounting industry, would be very invaluable for our listeners. Now, are there any emerging trends or tech you foresee having a significant impact, and how should businesses really prepare for these upcoming changes?
So, specifically, well, first of all, pay attention to AI, and see when it's available and how you can use it. It's very complicated if you don't understand it. But that is one big shift that can help you. Another shift is there's a big shift in tech talking to each other. So like your marketing platform talking to your accounting, that is very important to get information, to make decisions, to be an entrepreneur, and to get ahead of your competition, or even just stay up on your with your competition. Having access to that data all in one spot and information from that is super important, and it'll help a lot. So there's already some tools out there. I already kind of talked about it, but some specific ones like management tools. So for like contractors, like Service Titan or Jobber. So these are platforms that they run their businesses on. They can communicate with their clients. They can schedule jobs. They can do that, all kinds of things, and it connects to their accounting.
Right.
So not only so basically everything is all there. Not only are you communicating with your client, but all of those interactions and all of those, transactions are all moving into your accounting. So then you can immediately make a decision to then impact your client or your customer or your team. Make life better for them.
Right.
All of these things, I think, is important to try to find a way for everything to talk.
Right.
So
just keep every page
absolutely, yes,
is there. Okay. Now, Ted, often business owners encounter hurdles or, harbor misconceptions about bookkeeping and accounting, which can hinder their growth. From your experience, can you discuss these common challenges and suggest practical ways to really overcome them?
Okay, so I think I've again already talked about it. I talk a lot, as you can see, but
we love it.
yeah. So one thing, like I'd already mentioned, accounting, when you pay somebody, they're not under your thumb. They're not a magic bullet. You need the cooperation. Right. When we go into small business, I did this too. I was a small business owner. I'm still a small business owner. And when you first get into business, you don't understand that everything is cooperative, and it's about managing resources and making connections. And so you need to make sure that in accounting, you don't treat your bookkeeper accountant like they're a magic bullet and that things just automatically happen, or that they're the ones in charge of your management of your taxes and things like that. They help you. And they will help get the information, but ultimately you are the one in charge. It's your business. So that is a big misconception, is that people a lot of times think, okay, now I've hired an accountant or a bookkeeper. This is my magic bullet. It's out of my mind. Now we will make it as out of mind as possible, but not everything can be. So sometimes you have to help. You have to work out. Work with the CRA. We try to do everything behind the scenes without you even knowing. But sometimes we got to bring in, right? And ultimately you should keep your
up to date.
Keep your eye on it because it's your business.
Of course, yes, it goes both ways, right? Now, Ted, as our conversation is kind of getting concluded, on a final note, one of the key areas that entrepreneurs often need guidance with is optimizing accounting processes and improving financial performance. Now, as an expert in this field, what are some strategies or best practices or a piece of advice you'd kind of give to businesses that are really looking to enhance their financial operations?
So not necessarily just financially. So I love strategy, and I think strategy and finance and accounting all move together. As I think it's really healthy to think that way. So I think in order to really optimize, you need to look at industry experts mainly. So, and your advisors and your accountants or your marketer, if they're an industry marketer, because they understand your industry and are going to help you optimize based on best practices. Right. So if you look at maybe a new businesses that's just killing it, and they're like, wow, what are they doing? You need to look at them. Right. No, not ask your accountant. Look at that business. Look at the industry. Look at coaches and things like that, in order to figure out what it is they're doing. Where it comes into accounting, you will find out that those people that are optimized and that are killing it are the ones that have optimized their accounting and their optimized their marketing. Because without the information, you can't do great things. You can't do great things without knowing what those great things are. Right. Or how to get to those great things. So if you don't concentrate on it, it's not guaranteed, but it's pretty close that you're gonna have a hard time. So understanding. It's just. No, I had another point. I totally forgot. Oh my god.
Thank you so much for your time, Ted. Your knowledge and your unique experiences with us. I mean, your presence on our podcast has been a true privilege, actually.
Thank you.
And we are immensely grateful for all the knowledge that you've shared with us and with our audience today. And we hope to see you back with more information.
Thank you.
That was a very illuminating conversation with Ted, the accounting industry powerhouse who's dedicated to simplifying the entrepreneurial journey. A big thank you to Ted for sharing his insights and experiences with us today. Before we wrap up, we want to extend our gratitude towards our exclusive partners who make this podcast possible. Our banking partner RBC for their steadfast support, our shipping partner UPS for ensuring smooth logistics, business operations, and our accounting software partner Xero for their incredible platform revolutionizing financial management. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations on the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, where we explore the future of entrepreneurship with industry leaders and innovators. Thank you for joining us today.